Hi, thank you. My name's Ian Cook, as this banner proudly states, or displays, I guess. It doesn't talk, it's a banner. So my whole thing is, I feel like there needs to be some adult music about dinosaurs, because all the music that exists about them is kid-oriented. So I wrote a bunch of dinosaur songs for us grown-ups. Not that they aren't okay for kids, but so here's one about T-Rex.
Until my body fails me, I call the entire dominion mine. There's an infection in my ankle and I know my days are numbered, cause the pain increases every time I step on the lift. The inflammation of the bones inside my foot is getting gnarly. I'm a highly active creature, not to mention my head. It never sleeps, it never goes away. 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 It's pretty obvious my stature has its benefits, but wearing out my bones from all the weight I carry's part of the deal. There's an ancestral form of Trichomonas galinae within me. They will colonize and take you down in spite of your zeal. They never sleep, they never go away. 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 Alive, I was a tyrant, but after the catastrophe I rested doggo. That I'm long shuffled off the mortal coil. My skeleton stands dominant in Chicago. I am a monument and living was worth the toil.
Thank you. It's kind of a sad one. That's about a specific T-Rex who stands dominant in Chicago. The skeleton is the largest one, I think, that they've ever found. You guys probably know about it. You're dino fans. Her name is Sue. Yes, you can go visit her at the Field Museum. So this next one's about my favorite prehistoric beast, which is one of the largest pterosaurs ever discovered, called Quetzalcoatlus. I made a costume of a Quetzalcoatlus, and the head is out in the lobby. We were going to have it operational and walking around, but one of the wings broke, so it can't walk on this day, unfortunately. But so my plan is to have like a whole dinosaur stage production with costumes and songs that I've created. Okay, here's the Quetzalcoatlus. Oops, I gotta delete the last song.
my technique is finding food I'm ruthless. I am a cat so colorless. I know my name is I. Strange is the shape of an nautilus. It came from a Mesoamerican feathered serpent god. Oh, I was made for soaring. It was made for me. So what's to stop the roaring? Need to frequently go closer to the bright ball blazing overhead. Can't resist the flight called desire. Must be fed in the plains I live on, deep within the heart of Texas, which will not be named till long after I take my last breath, till long after I die. 65 million years by, not too long before the Wright brothers fly. Not until then will anything of my jumbo size do so.
Thank you. Cool. Oh, I got 5 minutes. I'm gonna play one more song. Anybody know what our state fossil is?
Yeah!
This last song is for that beloved beast. Is that coming through okay? So I'm really proud that I incorporated the term thagomizer into this song, which is what you call the spikes on the tail of a stegosaurus. It was coined by Gary Larson, the Far Side cartoonist. It's a little tidbit. He just made it up, and paleontologists were like, yeah, that's what those are called.
settle. Late Jurassic conjured me and put me on the sleigh to graze and fade and remain within it. The savannahs of firms will return to Colorado, where I'll one day be named official fossil of the state, with plates over my spine, doubled and staggered, making the strangest of all constellations. Behold, the Thagomazus at the end of my tail, quadruple spikes float high behind. But that's not all we are, a pebble and a star and a soul combined.
This is the wicked guitar solo on the album. Our recording is a full band, and it's really epic and wonderful. So, but when I'm playing by myself, I try to recreate as many of the parts as I can.
Predators appear at any hour. Protection of this kind is necessary to survive, and we teach our offspring to pivot and swivel their bodies to swing what they've got in a fight. Most of my days are devoid of complication. The lifestyle of a herbivore is basic, bad or good. Eat, sleep and defend. Self-preservation is the priority. Travel together. And don't forget to keep the population up. Reproduction is a must for dino kind. But that's not all we are. A pebble and a star and a soul combined.
Thank you. If you like dinosaurs and dinosaur music, I have the Dinosaur album available in the lobby at the Morrison table. Thanks so much for listening. Get ready for some awesome paleo talk, you guys.
How to get what you need. Step 1. Write your order on the cards provided at your seat. Step 2. Place card upright in the railing for your server to see. Step 3. Raise a new card for anything else you need. Enjoy the show.
Hi there. Can everybody hear me? As you just found out a minute ago, dinosaurs make movies better. Yay! Hi, I'm Greg Talley, and I am with the Morrison Natural History Museum Foundation. and we are very grateful to be here tonight on behalf of Alamo Drafthouse Littleton, and they are going to very graciously split tonight's box office net with us, and it will benefit the foundation to go towards kids in need who maybe don't get to go out and go to a museum or go on a field trip. It'll bring them out and teach them about some world-class paleontology. So let's give a round of applause to Alamo Drafthouse Littleton. Thank you very much. In particular, I want to just say a couple names. Steve Bissett and Alexandra Grismer of the Alamo Drafthouse Littleton have been amazing and been wonderful in helping us every step of the way in this journey. So very grateful to them. Now, since we're a foundation and we rely on donations, later on, one of the paleontologists is going to hand off his real paleontologist hat to my lovely wife, Meredith, who is standing over there somewhere or sitting. Meredith, stand up so I can see you. I can't see. There she is, over there. So at the end of the movie, she'll have a paleontologist hat, and if you want to drop something in it or make out a check to the Morrison Natural History Museum Foundation, we're eternally grateful and paleontologically grateful. And also we'll have a gift shop in the lobby and many wonderful displays. We accept plastic, so if you have, and we have a square, so if you want to buy something at the gift shop table, we'd be grateful for that. Got the privilege of seeing this movie earlier today, and I don't want to do any spoilers other than save one, and that is no matter what comes at you, no matter how scary or dangerous it gets, save the margaritas. Just remember that. So you didn't come here to hear me yak today. You really came to do a Q&A with two world-class bone experts, with paleontologists Matt Mossbrucker and Dr. Robert T. Bakker. So, Doc, Matt, come on down, and let's get this show started. It's a Q&A all about Jurassic World. We're going to pass the mic. I'll be running around Phil Donahue style, and you can ask anything that you'd like about dinosaurs or paleontology, and let's see what we can do. Also, one last thing is this is being live streamed via Meltdown Comics in LA, so this will be archived and on YouTube later on the Meltdown website. So if anybody out there is watching, please watch again. Anyway, here's Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt. And this is Dr. Bob. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Spoiler alert, we have no spoilers. I have not seen the movie yet. Have you? Mm-hmm. Dang it. I thought I was going to see it with these guys. So, to kick things off, let's get some questions about dinosaurs, their life, their loves, the movies.
Raise your hands and I'll bring the mic by.
Yeah. We got Phil Donahue here. Thank you, Phil. All right, I'm going to just pick on somebody. Oh!
So why are the Velociraptors in the movie not Velociraptors?
I think you need to take the first part of this one.
All right. Now, this is an interesting story, and unlike most stories about movies, the story I'm about to tell you is true. I worked with the special effects artists in the first movie. I was called into guys I knew who were really good dinosaur artists, and since I didn't ask to be paid, I could tell them whatever I thought needed to be done. And unlike the official PhD who was called in after the movie was done and in the can and fully edited, and they wanted some comments to help marketing. Anyway, so I saw really good dinosaurs being made, and the artists were really upset about the Velociraptor because a real Velociraptor is about the size of a turkey. Do you have anything in your...
Yeah, 1 second.
I'm going to show you an excellent cast of a real Velociraptor. That's as big as they get. You know, that is smaller than the head of a standard poodle. But that's Velociraptor. It's a little dinosaur. Well, the director, whose name I won't mention, Spielberg, came in and saw what the artist had done. He wasn't impressed by the science. He was impressed by the smallness of the dinosaur, and he explained that he wanted to make $1 bajillion worldwide, and he couldn't scare enough people with a dinosaur the size of a standard poodle. So he told them, and I quote, "Make it this tall," roughly eye level for the average person, pushing 5'10". No one had found a raptor of any sort that big.
I have one. Yes.
Nope. Wait a minute. My arm's bigger than yours, by the way. Okay, no, hold that. This is the size of the claw that the artists were forced to make. They argued a bit, but the clinching argument came from the director, Spielberg, who said, open the drawers and see whose name is at the bottom of your check. Okay, and so the guys, the artists, reluctantly made a raptor as tall as my eye line. Now, there were friends of mine digging in Utah, and they didn't know about, I was sworn to secrecy. I couldn't talk about the raptor problem. And Jim Kirkland, a fine paleontologist, called me up and said, "Dr. Bob, we found a raptor." I said, "That's nice. It's really big." I said, "Oh, how big is it?" He said, "Oh, standing on tippy toes, about 5'10". I said, "Oh, my God, you have just discovered the raptor that Spielberg made up." And he had. And it was perfect. And that was Utahraptor, now known from a complete family preserved in a quicksand. And that is the claw, the killing claw of a Utahraptor. So that's the story of the Velocipoodle, which would make a fine pet. It would probably fixate on you, and you could carry it on your shoulder to school or to meetings with other vice presidents. I've done that. That's fun. And the Scariosaurus, which was called Velociraptor in the movie, but in fact is replicated by nature in the form of Utahraptor. By the way, all raptors were covered, I mean covered nose to tail, in feathers. So was T-Rex.
Perhaps no dinosaur has brought so much disappointment to people in the world than this little guy. I've been sitting out in the lobby here of Alamo Draft House since Thursday, and I'll come up to people and I'll ask them, "Do you have a moment to talk about Velociraptor?" People run, and I think I understand why. So it turns out just about everything that you know about Velociraptor is wrong, but that's okay. The movies are about entertainment. It's not a documentary. Spielberg is great for entertaining us, but you can't trust Spielberg with science. Now, Velociraptor, as Doc pointed out, it's a little dinosaur. I mean, it's turkey-sized, little shrimpy thing. And, of course, in the movies, they're naked, but they're not. They have feathers. We know that we have at least 3 different taxa, 3 different species of raptors that have feathers.
Oh, at least, yeah, maybe up to 5 or 6.
Yeah. So imagine a turkey-sized critter, fluffy, cute, comes up to your knee. And we don't have any evidence that these animals were social, at least with this species. So if you were to encounter a Velociraptor, it would be singular Velociraptor. There wouldn't be more than one. That's just. And if this dinosaur took you out, it had time-traveling potential, well, you should be embarrassed because really it is the size of a little French poodle. It's cute, though. Make him a friend.
We do have evidence from Utahraptor, our big raptor, the one that Spielberg made up, that it was social. An entire family, or what appears to be a family, was preserved in quicksand in central Utah. It's being excavated now by the Utah State Museum.
And they're seeking funding, by the way, to complete their project. So, we do appreciate your support tonight, but if you want to fund raptor science,
absolutely,
seek out Jim Kirkland. I know he needs help with his project. Now, that's all I have to say about that.
All right, we want another question that involves hands. I did my thesis on hands. I love hands. Fingers, love fingers. Feet, not so much.
All right, Greg, we have the lights in our eyes. So you got to track these people down.
Okay, somebody raise your hand. Raise it high so I can see.
If Utahraptor was found around the exact same time that the first Jurassic Park movie was done,
yes,
why didn't they change the name to Utahraptor?
Well, names are kind of interesting. Actually, in the book of Jurassic Park, they talk about a couple different kinds of raptors, all of which they've called Species of Velociraptor. And there had been an animal found in 1964 on a Yale expedition. I was privileged to be part of that. Deinonychus, which means terrible claw. We found 4 of them together. That's mid-size, halfway between Poodleraptor and Utahraptor. I communicated a little bit with Michael Crichton. He read the report, the scientific report of 4 Deinonychuses found together. And that's one of the things that got him thinking about how cool it would be, scary and financially rewarding, to make a story about bringing back intelligent dinosaurs who were social hunters. So he chose Deinonychus, but for marketing reasons, he didn't like the name. So the book and the movie decided to change Deinonychus into Velociraptor. So they were going down from wolf size to poodle size. The Utahraptor did make the pages of the New York Times and elsewhere just before the movie came out, but names are funny things in movies and in novels too. Everyone agreed that Velociraptor sounded so cool, so mean, so deadly, so intelligent. So 3 different raptors were called Velociraptor in the book and in the movie. But Utahraptor is the only one that we know really well that does in fact fit the movie raptor.
Yeah, not at all. It's kind of the anti-movie raptor. It's big and stocky. And unlike Velociraptor, it's kind of lightly built. It's a delicate little thing. Cute little thing. All right, what other question might we have? All right, Greg. Line them up, Greg.
Caroline said there was a difference between tooth taken from the skull and it actually falling out. Can you explain that to us?
Why, yes, we can, as it turns out. Hold on. In my hand, I have a small tooth. This is from the upper jaw of a T-Rex, left side, right by the nose. This is a tooth that came out of the mouth of a dead T-Rex. Now ask me, how do you know that? Thank you. You guys are late in the prompts. We know that because the top part of the tooth that it's lightly colored here is covered in enamel. That's the part of the tooth that you would see sticking out of the animal's mouth. Below it, the long tubular shape there, which is broken off there at the bottom, that's the root. That's the anchor. The only thing holding this tooth in the jaw is a periodontal ligament. That's it. The thing about dinosaurs is they have a great dental plan. So if you lose a tooth or it breaks, one grows back. And below this tooth in life, you would have a new tooth growing up and out of the jaw. And as it turns out, the root itself will dissolve like an ice cube in a hot glass of water. And then all that will be left of the tooth is just the crown, just this part. Hold on, let me show you what that looks like. Try to have another one here. There you go. I anticipated this question. Oh, look at that. Here we have a tooth that was shed from a living T-Rex. This is a document of a living, breathing, feeding beast. Note there is no root attached. There is wear at the tip of the tooth. The serrations, the saw edges of the teeth are worn down as well. We will find teeth like these around the carcasses of a T-Rex's meal or an Allosaurus's meal back in the Jurassic. So somebody on the stage, not me, has pioneered this idea of tracing Jurassic and Cretaceous ecology by looking at shed teeth around dinosaur carcasses. Who was that? Would you like to talk about that for a second, Ben?
Yeah, it struck me that dinosaurs are firing their tooth crowns when they lose them. And you could call them bullets. Like you find a bullet at a crime scene, you find shed teeth at chewed up Cretaceous crime scenes. So we began to be really careful collecting every single shed tooth. And in the lifetime of a T-Rex, it would go through maybe 50 or 60 bullets from a single tooth socket. And it would never run out of them. As long as it lived, more and more and more and more. So if you get on your hands and knees and your stomach and crawl around the site very carefully and collect every fragment of teeth around a chewed-up carcass, you can build up a CSI story. And that was done by our friends, the Black Hills Institute, around a chewed-up Triceratops, an adult Triceratops, the big guy with the horns. It had been chewed, and there were many tooth marks on it. And around were 30 36 shed teeth of Tyrannosaurs, not T-Rex, but the little one, Nanotyrannus. At any one time, if you're a Tyrannosaur, maybe you're going to shed 1 or 2 teeth out of your tooth sockets. You're not going to shed 10 or 5. So 36 teeth means there was a pack of Tyrannosaurs feeding on that giant horned vegetarian. We have found up to 50 shed teeth of Allosaurus, a Jurassic meat eater, around chewed-up stegosaurs and long-necked apatosaurs and long-necked diplodocuses. So we get some evidence of the size of the feeding unit from the bullets, what I call the ballistics, the shed teeth. I have friends in Australia who are herpetologists. They can show me embedded in their shin bones the shed teeth of a saltwater crocodile. They're very proud of that wound. And that's an example of what you could do today to reconstruct the process of a big carnivore hitting its prey and leaving behind a shed tooth.
Next question. Greg.
Let's go with this guy here because he said his,
Well, hold on. Greg's...
Well, we got one, Greg. You're too slow. Yes.
Hold on, he's running around.
Yes.
You're making me do laps.
No, he's right.
Dang it.
You have a dewlap like Elizabeth?
What are we not paying
Raise your
for,
hand again.
Greg?
Whoever. Okay, here we go.
His name is Andrew. I might be related to this kid.
Just say you forgot.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So would you elaborate on what the arms a T-Rex would use those for?
Fox News.
No, I was privileged to jump on Fox News about a week ago and talk with an anchor about dinosaurs in a special I was involved in. And he asked me, like many kids do, although he wasn't a kid, what are these for? You put this on my arm. This is the right arm of T-Rex. So you have the elbow joint against my elbow joint. The next joint is I'm sorry, that's a shoulder. It's nerve. And then you've got the elbow, and then you've got the wrist. And you've got these 2 fingers, which correspond to these 2 fingers. These are strong arms, great arms. And in 1906, when T-Rex arms were first described in the second communication by a guy named Henry Fairfield Osborn, he called this structure ridiculous. Because for an animal as long as a school bus, an arm this side is kind of absurd. And he speculated at that time that arms like this might have been used to aid in the act of mating. These are copulatory aids. And I think he's probably right. Those straight claws that you'll notice in the hands there, those are not good meat hooks for picking up a carcass and pulling some Triceratops brisket towards the gaping maw of the T-Rex. Point of fact, these arms are so short that T-Rex couldn't pick its own nose. So they're not used for that. In the hips, T-Rex has a built-in chair. So T-Rex could just simply squat down, sit on a stool bone called the pubis, and you know what? It wouldn't need to do a special little push-up to get itself up off the ground, but an arm like this is not going to jack up a school bus-sized animal. So the end of the day, we can tell in a structure like this what they probably are not used for. But the question, what was it used for, is a bit more difficult to answer. And I think Osborn's about as close as anyone's ever gotten to figuring out this little mystery structure. What do you think?
Well, Osborn was a smart guy. He not only was a bone guy, he was on the board of the Bronx Zoo and knew what living animals did. And contrary to what some books may indicate, T-Rex had to do a lot more than chase down prey, bite them in half, and swallow the halves. A T-Rex was a social animal and had to express social thoughts, even gentle thoughts. If you're a T-Rex, the only part of your body capable of expressing a gentle thought are these delicate little fingers. Now, this is an allosaur, which is a much smaller dinosaur, about a third the weight. And look at that thumb claw, a great big meat hook. I cannot see how we can use this great big meat hook to express something gentle, something out of a Jane Austen novel. No. So I believe Osborn was absolutely on the right track. This is a social instrument for expressing things. He used the word stridulation, which basically means tickling. So for tickling, for stroking, for a mom T-Rex to comfort The little ones, that's a good thing.
We also have some feathered cousins of T-Rex, one of its distant ancestors, Utahraptor, with lots of long, shag-like proto-feathers hanging off the front limbs for signaling and interspecific communication, so for a way for T-Rexes to talk with one another, probably flash little T-Rex signs at one another by wiggling their tiny arms.
All members of the T-Rex family were covered with fine filamentous feathers, a little like kiwi feathers. In fact, all meat-eating dinosaurs of all families, for which we have good skin, good mummies, they were feathered. They weren't naked. So if in your lap right now you had a baby T-Rex, it would be fluffy and cuddly. Aww.
Yes, that is a proper response. Greg, another question. Greg.
Quick, raise your hands. Ooh, I got one up here.
Spreading them out.
How many different species of dinosaurs have been named?
Yeah, it's about 500.
Yeah, it kind of depends on who you ask and what their philosophy of taxonomy is. It's as few as 500, as many as, well, double that. Taxonomy is a hot-button issue for sure when it comes to dinosaurs. And these days, the best models for coming up with dinosaur relationships are based on binary characteristics, sounds boring, that are fed into a computer, which also sounds boring. And when it's spat out of the computer, it looks really scientific, and it has its own nomenclature. This is cladistics, and it works to a point, but it doesn't put the fossils back in the context of the rock record and the habitat they were part of. So I'm a little skeptical of it, to be quite honest with you. And I'm certainly in the minority of that, but I'm thinking that we are only scratching the tip of the proverbial T-Rex tail when it comes to dinosaur diversity. I think there's a lot that remains undiscovered, not just out in the field, but in museum collections as well.
All right, who else had their hand up? While I get to you, everybody hum the Jurassic Park theme song.
I'm going to write some words to that. Jurassic Park.
Okay, so Dr. Bob, will you please explain to us how you came up with that dinosaurs were warm-blooded instead of cold-blooded?
Well, actually, I was 130 years late. The first gentleman, scientist, a good one, to prove that what we call dinosaurs were like birds, hot-blooded, fast-moving, warm-hearted, good moms, was the Reverend Edward Hitchcock, state paleontologist of Massachusetts and congregational minister and good theologian. He looked at tracks. All he had were tracks, nothing but tracks. He had very, very few bones. And he chased animals across a muddy field, species that are alive today, to get a database of tracks. And he looked at salamander tracks and alligator tracks and lizard tracks and all sorts of tracks. And these things he was finding, the fossils were all from the early Jurassic, and they came in all different sizes, from the size of a chicken up to an animal, although walking on its hind legs like a bird, would be as big as an elephant. In 1836, he wrote a summary paper and said the early Jurassic was ruled by giant ground birds who didn't fly, but came as big as an elephant, up to 5 or 10 tons. They moved swiftly, hot-blooded, swiftly, and lived in groups. He was exactly right. He was 100% right. Meanwhile, the paleontologists in Europe, including France, if you know what I mean, had concluded that dinosaurs were a combination of lizards and crocodiles and had short, stubby legs and moved rather slowly in a sprawling fashion. Hitchcock was absolutely right. Absolutely right. We now know from statistical studies of footprints the average speed of a T-Rex just cruising around looking for foods around 4.5 miles per hour. That's the average speed. Top speed is usually about 10 times average. So in a run, the T-Rex, if it were mad at you or very hungry or both, could do over 40, which is even higher than that of a white rhino. All of the data we have from footprints now, and it's much more than the Reverend Hitchcock had, indicate that the average pace, no pun intended, of dinosaur existence was hot-blooded like a bird. And now we have many wonderful dinosaur mummies of meat eaters and some plant eaters too. And they were covered with feathers. They were insulated like a bird. And insulation makes no sense at all if you're cold-blooded. None. So that's some of the evidence, which I think is overwhelming, that dinosaurs were indeed in the avian level of metabolism.
All right, these are great questions about meat-eating dead things. Let's show some love for the vegetarian dinosaurs. We need to round this out a little bit.
Sure. All right, I'm going up to the top row.
What was the last plant-eating dinosaur on the Earth?
His name was Greg.
The last fauna on the Earth is about 65.3 million years ago. It's been well dated through radioactive volcanic ash. It's found here in Colorado, bigger samples from central Wyoming, what's called the Lance Formation up in Montana, the Hell Creek. That has T-Rex in it and its small cousin Nanotyrannus. It has some raptors, small ones. It has really big Triceratops and Torosaurus, plant eaters. It has Ankylosaurus, which is quite rare, an armor-plated, very wide vegetarian. Ostrich dinosaurs that look like ostriches, and our Canadian colleagues have just found feathers on ostrich dinosaurs. So the whole fauna seems to go out at approximately the same time. These are the last dinosaurs that are big, standard dinosaurs on the Earth, but surviving this extinction. The big dinosaurs were a variety of birds, mostly small. So in a way, there's still 10,000 species of dinosaurs alive today, mostly small, the birds.
Okay, next question. Let's see some hands. Everybody raise your hands up. I'm coming down now. Here we go. Next question.
What are your thoughts on the recent discovery of red blood cells in a dinosaur sample of flesh?
I'm sorry, what?
Of flesh, sorry.
Oh, it wasn't flesh. They were hematite is the iron mineral that you find in red blood cells. And they found little hematite crystals, which are red blood cells, essentially within a claw and some bones from some, just right before T-Rex age critters. That's been reported from T-Rex itself a few years back. It's fantastic. But if this is a leading question towards could we clone the beasts, let's think about it. We actually have a middle school science teacher here with us tonight. I know that for sure, but I won't embarrass him in front of everyone. To get the genetic material from a cell, you need the nucleus, and red blood cells lack that. Plus, DNA breaks down really fast over time. Collagen is a lot more stable. Fragments of amino acids are too. What this really speaks to me about is that the fossil record and fossils themselves are a far more detailed record of past life than we've given them credit for. A fossil is not just a cast of a bone, like a mineral clone of a bone. Not at all. It's the actual biological document. It might be altered a little bit through time, but that completely depends on the environment it was buried in. Like in the Jurassic where we dig, in Colorado, our bones are washed in alkaline water. Natural glass permeates the bone, fills up all of the blood vessel cavities and all the marrow spaces within the bone. The pH would neutralize any genetic material that's there. So if we clone the Stegosaurus, but in more acidic environments, like we have in the end part of the Cretaceous, where you've got a lot of plants and swamps, plants decomposing with lots of tannic acid in the water, are going to preserve those sorts of proteins and those biomolecules a lot better than what we see in alkaline Jurassic rocks. So as we keep digging and keep looking, I think the lesson here is we're going to find a lot more out about these animals that we never thought we knew, or we never thought we know.
Okay, I was wondering, if you're from this area and you really want to seriously study dinosaurs, maybe go on some digs, where's a good place to start?
That's a cool question. We got that kind of question during the Reddit thing. Find a local museum. If you're local in the Denver area, do go to the Morrison Museum. Pound for pound, that's the most productive museum I've seen in the world.
Oh, shucks.
Schools. No, start with the museum. Also start with the zoo. Join a zoo. Bring your video camera out. Go early when they're feeding the animals. Build up your own video library of animal movement. I used to teach anatomy at Johns Hopkins, And the very first introduction to anatomy was filming animals, including people, moving, running, climbing, and then we would get you a skeleton of, say, a dog, a cat, a puma, a turtle, and you could reproduce the arcs of movement of the skeleton, and then we would let you cut into a pickled cat or a pickled armadillo, and you could understand how the muscles would move the bones that you have just studied and produce the movement you have just done from the video that you took in the zoo. Living animals and fossil animals must be studied together. Absolutely. Join a zoo. Join a museum. There are dozens of museums in this continent that will take you out digging. If you're in the Texas area, I'll take you to North Texas. I just came back. We were digging, found a new species of Dimetrodon, a finback animal. Looks like a sailfish whose mom had been scared by a Komodo dragon. It's not a dinosaur. It's before the dinosaurs. And most of our field group who find these things are volunteers. We need volunteers. If any of you love to work delicate stuff with your fingertips, that's where the backlog is. If it takes, say, a week to dig up a Dimetrodon, it'll take 10 times as much, 20 times as much to clean the bones in the lab, and that requires delicate fingers and really good proprioception. So find a museum locally, find a zoo locally, and if you don't have one, adopt a cat.
But the bottom line lesson is get involved. And, I'd be honored to have anybody at the Morrison Museum, but the Denver Museum of Nature and Science has a great program. The Friends of Dinosaur Ridge does too. Even there are some for-profit organizations like the Rocky Mountain Dinosaur Resource Center that accepts volunteers as well. If you want to learn paleontology, you want to learn how museums work, get involved. Don't sit in the sidelines. Don't be an armchair paleontologist. Get dirty. Get in the lab. Get in the field. That's the most important thing you can do.
Next question. Let's see the hands. Raise them high. Raise them high. Okay, we got some here in the front row. Okay.
Dr. Bob, since you've seen this movie, do you know if any dinosaurs were harmed in the making of this movie?
Just their reputations.
Well, there is. How many of you have seen the 1977 Island of Dr. Moreau? It's based on a sci-fi novel, 1896, which, like Michael Crichton's novels, questioned the hubris of scientists, that scientists sometimes were going full bore without thinking of the consequences. The Secret Island of Dr. Moreau is appropriate for this. In 1896, it was an anti-vivisection novel. There were experiments in the lab without anesthetics that were very cruel to animals. And people were trying to get evolutionary intermediates between different species by mixing and matching their living flesh. And you can do that with salamanders and frogs or the Texas Tea Party, but with normal mammals, you can't do it. And so the novels by H.G. Wells, The Secret Island of Dr. Moreau, made into quite a few different movies. By 1977, we knew about DNA, and it's an updated story of generating animals that didn't exist, maybe shouldn't exist, by manipulating DNA. The movie you're about to see is really in that mode. I haven't seen any of the reviews pointing out that this is exactly the mode, the culture, the tradition of H.G. Wells' novel, The Secret Island of Dr. Moreau. And you will see dinosaurs that did not exist. And according to the backstory of the movie, they had been put together by extracting DNA from various species. And if you're a fan of the Big Bang Theory, and you ought to be if you're not, there's a famous episode of genetic modification where Dr. Cooper obtains a nightlight, which is a goldfish in which DNA from fluorescent invertebrates had been attached. Anyway, no dinosaur was hurt in the making of this movie. Yeah.
The goat simulator.
Chickens are dinosaurs, absolutely. By the way, would everyone do this? Please raise 3 fingers, 2 fingers together, the thumb out sideways. That is a Velociraptor hand. Do not do this. This is wrong. Some people were doing this. You're not paying attention. We know who you are. This is being videotaped. It's like this. This is the standard Velociraptor or Allosaurus. It's your basic Jurassic Cretaceous meat-eating dinosaur. Meat-eating dinosaurs never had more than, well, actually, no dinosaur has more than 3 claws. None. Sometimes they had extra fingers, but they had no claws. That's like an alligator or a crocodile hand. Those are called archosaurs. You will see in this movie a dinosaur that commits a digital error. It's got 4 fingers and 4 claws. How can we explain that? Using the tradition of genetic manipulation by scientists. How many toes on the hind foot of your guinea pig? Who has a guinea pig? You have guinea pig. How many toes in the rear? There are 3. There are these 3. In the 1930s, a brilliant geneticist, Sewell Wright, University of Chicago, worked with paleontologists. He bred and crossbred and retrogressed and crossbred guinea pigs because he knew there was another toe hidden inside the DNA. He knew it. And after about 30 or 40 generations, he got the missing toe. He got a guinea pig with 4 toes, as their ancestors had 40 million years ago. So you have a heuristic error here, I would call it. A teachable moment. There's a dinosaur with 4 fingers. Well, the ancestors of dinosaurs had 4 fingers 40 million years before they evolved. So one could say this is an example of modern speeded up laboratory GMO genetics. You're recovering a finger that had been lost in the dinosaur realm for 40 million years before they appeared. So there. Sewell Wright. Remember Sewell Wright.
All right, next question. Take the mic.
So I was watching this show probably this weekend. It was on Nat Geo. It was Jurassic CSI, and they had this computer program where they could. They were basically trying to figure out if there was a mistake in how we'd assembled sauropod necks, and that they were going up basically. And they said, or the computer program figured out, quote unquote, that they had they did not raise up their necks. What are your thoughts on that? Was that right? What do you know about that?
The funny thing about computers is that you can make them do whatever you want them to. Models like that are limited by software and the data that you put in. Not to say that that model was incorrect, because
it was.
I'm not, but I was being gentle. As it turns out, there's a lot of diversity within long-necked dinosaurs. There's not just one neutral neck posture for a long neck. Brachiosaurus will have a different neck posture than Apatosaurus. And Apatosaurus has a different neutral neck posture than Brontosaurus does. And yes, Brontosaurus exists. Technology is a fantastic tool in our toolbox in paleontology, but it's not going to replace what you have between your ears. At the end of the day, the fossils that you have in front of you and the data that they actually are is far more important than a computer simulation.
It was a recent experiment with bird necks, chicken necks, turkey necks. Most paleontology, we have bones, obviously. We don't have the ligaments. We don't have the cartilage between the joints. So we manipulate neck bones and say a Brontosaurus and try to figure out how much they could move. And in this computer simulation, the result was, well, they couldn't move much vertically. If you do the same thing for ostrich bones, you would conclude that ostrich can't move their necks vertically much, which is a big surprise to living ostriches. Because, in fact, there's much more movement at each joint in the neck of an ostrich than the study of dry bones would indicate. However, there are some long-necked dinosaurs that didn't raise the neck much, but they are animals that are rump-heavy, and they could easily just tip up, as we see in a wonderful scene in Jurassic Park 1.
Next question. Let's see some hands. Raise them high. Somebody I haven't picked on yet.
Right here, right here.
Okay. Get them, Doc.
When it comes to prehistoric reptiles, do you guys more lean towards snakes evolving from burrowing lizards or sea-dwelling baranoids?
Snakes have been a big problem in trying to find the proto-snake. I think we're much closer now. There was a little partial skeleton found in Fruta, Colorado. Excellent museum. Do you want to dig dinosaurs? Do you want to dig dinosaurs right now? Go to Fruta, Colorado. Sign up for the one-day dig in the My Get More Quarry. You'll be digging up apatosaurs and diplodocus and allosaurs. It's great. Anyway, this small skeleton, incomplete skeleton, was found 20 years ago in Fruta, Colorado, near the My Get More Quarry. It's late Jurassic, about 148 million years ago. It was buried on a Thursday. And when first described, the guys who dug it up thought, it looks like a snake. Well, it does look like a snake. The specimen has recently been reanalyzed and published by the Canadians up in Alberta, and their conclusion was this was a snake, not a varanoid lizard, not an aquatic lizard. This was a terrestrial snake, still had legs, but in the way the lower jaw joint, the extra joint here, snakes have extra joints everywhere, had developed, it was clearly on its way to snakedom. I think that is correct. And that snakes evolved from terrestrial long-bodied lizards, relatives of Varanus, the monitor lizard. There are many kinds of monitor lizards. Moto dragons are a really big one. There are river monitors, pond monitors, and those that live in the halls of Indian tombs, the hall monitors. But anyway, it is from a terrestrial long-bodied lizard that snakes evolved, almost certainly. Did I wake anyone up? I'm sorry.
Yeah. They came from the land.
All right, last two questions. I need somebody. Okay, I'm coming down to the front row here. Keep them high. Here I come. All right, young man.
So when chickens get their head cut off and they still move around, could that also happen to dinosaurs?
That's an interesting question. When you go to Fruta, and I expect you all to go to Fruta, there is a monument, a beautiful sculpture, a homage to a Fruta chicken, Mike the Headless Chicken. And he was to be decapitated and cooked. So the axe swung and missed by this much and took off his beak and just the front of his brain, but not the back of the brain or the esophagus. And Mike continued to be fed. He continued to walk around and continued to be very healthy and went on tours, I think with Waylon Jennings, I'm not sure. But anyway.
Mike was a big deal.
Mike was a very, very big deal. Now, could a dinosaur continue to feed and walk around if the muzzle was cut off and the front of the brain? Yeah, probably. Absolutely. There are some dinosaurs, the long-necked herbivores, Brontosaurus and Diplodocus, who had tiny brains, smaller brains than their ancestors, which is weird because a lot of dinosaurs had the best brains around. If you cut off the muzzle and the front of the brain of a Brontosaurus, I don't think it would affect the intellectual capacity at all. I think these are amazingly small-brained animals. Stegosaurus, too. We love Stegosaurus, but you wouldn't want to play chess with it.
They didn't file their own taxes.
Yeah, it's a strange thing.
In my hand here, I have